says send the 12 spies, you understand? Send the 12 spies out, and then they told them, hey, go make a surveillance of the land.
Bro, these giants are like actual skyscrapers and we're basically ants. This place is huge. I'm literally an insect.
I know we're the chosen people of God, but the giants are better than us. Even a fly is better than us.
Yo, these people are way too strong for us, Fur. We can't get into the land, we're low-key weak.
I can't go beef with giants, but I'm an insect and a grasshopper to them.
Bro, these giants are like majorly huge. We're total grasshoppers next to them, for real. No cap, we're cooked.
You know, and then God already promised them and all of that. The last guy, I love the last guy. The last guy was like no cap. That means like no lies at all. I think that's like Gen Z's, you know, speaking. And then he said, we are cooked. And then, you know, there was one other guy that said, I'm not gonna go beef with giants. Like, I'm an insect, you know. And then there was this other guy that said, I'm a grasshopper. And all of this are, you know, is taken directly from the pages of the scripture. Because they said it themselves. They said that we are grasshoppers. That was one of the things they said. They said that we are not able to go into the land. We're not able to, you know, like these people are men of big stature. They are giants and all of that. And we're not able to go do all of these big things that God already promised us. You know, and you know, the other guy that, you know, the other guy that said that they are like tall as skyscrapers, you know, trying to make us to understand how tall they are. And then he said to himself that, well, I am just like a fly, you know, I'm just like a fly. And it tells us that a lot of people are actually walking without knowing who they are. I would have, you know, played so many videos to you of going out. We went out and we did interviews for people. I mean, I went with him and we were asking people one simple question: who are you? And a lot of people, I tell you the truth, a lot of people couldn't tell us who they are. I remember there was this lady, she looked down and stared down for, you know, like for almost 2 minutes, and then she rose up, you know, she raised back her head, and then she couldn't even tell us one thing about what she is. Wow. Yes, I've got the videos, and there are people who say, well, I'm coming from the gym. When I ask them, who are you? And then there is another person that I asked, who are you? And then the person said, what do you want me to say? What should I say? And then there was another person who said, well, I'm a dog mom. That's who I am. And so you discover that there are lots of people who do not know who they are, who do not have an identity. And that's the problem. You know, you could summarize all of the stuff that is going through around the world, you know, and going on, you know, in the United States and all of that, into people not knowing who exactly they are. Because if you know who you are, it shapes the way you see things. It shapes the way you walk. It shapes the way you talk. It shapes the things you do. There are things that I can never do, no matter how. Let's assume that I don't have, you know, a dime in my pocket. I don't have a dollar and all of that. There are still things that I can never do because I don't have a dime in my pocket. As a matter of fact, because I do not have a dime in my pocket does not mean that I'm broke. I am not broke because I know my identity and I know who I am. Now, who I am determines the way I relate to things. Determines the way I talk to people. And so, my question to us now is, who are you? Who exactly are you? One of the things that you would notice is that whatever defines you is greater than you. Whatever defines you, or whatever identification, whatever thing you identify with is actually greater than you. For example, you've got your license card or your state ID. It is issued by the state of Texas, right? And that's a bigger institution than you. Or if you're in college, then they give you the student ID. It's because they're a bigger institution. If you've got a passport, it's because the United States government has issued you a passport, and that's a bigger government than you. A lot of people are walking. I've gotten the identification by the things that are lesser than them. Instead of, but they have subjugated themselves under it what is supposed to be under their feet. I don't know if that makes sense to you. Like, if this is supposed to be under my feet, and now what is supposed to be under my feet is giving me the definition of who I am. It doesn't make sense that we've got people as tall as skyscrapers, and all of that, and then God is saying that you're gonna go fight with them. And then they said it. They said that Numbers chapter 13, verse 33. They said that we are as grasshoppers in their eyes and in our eyes. And so that one thing you should know is that the world is gonna want to give you their own definition of who you are. Now, it is your responsibility to reject the definition that the word gives you, the identification that the word gives you. It is your own duty. You have the duty to reject that. If you do not reject it, then it becomes who you are. It becomes your identification, and then you go about with all of these limitations. The world wants to identify people with failure. The world wants to identify people with, with mental illness and all of that. The Bible gave us a definition of who we are. It says, you are gods. I said, all of you are the children of the Most High. The book of Psalm 82 verse 6. Psalm 82 verse 6. It says that you are gods. And all of you are the children of the Most High. What does that mean? That you are gods. You're not mere mortals, because gods are not mere mortals. Gods are not mere men. And so the things that should happen to mere men cannot happen to you. So if mere men are failing, then you know that you cannot fail. It is impossible to fail. It is just impossible. That's it. It's not because of who you are. Does it make sense? It's like this looks like a stainless steel. It is impossible for it to become carbon steel. It is just impossible. Why? Because of the nature of its properties, of its makeup. And the same way, if you know that you are a son, a child of God, you are God, so it's impossible for you to become an ordinary mortal being that can be pushed around by people, can be pushed around by policies, can be pushed around by so many differences, can be oppressed by them. And there are lots of people going out. And that's why we're not going to stop. Each time we go out and we ask all of these questions, and we invited over 100 of them yesterday. Even though they did not show up, we're still going out again to invite them until they come back. Until they come and hear this. Because when I speak with them, I know that they don't even know who they are. They are not functioning in that capacity of who they are. Now, many years ago, one of my friends, many years ago, probably about 8 or 9 years ago, so she came to me and she said, well, Damilola, I want you to, pray with me. And that she's been applying to certain stuff, and then she was getting rejected, all of the time. Like, she was applying about 2 or 3 times and she was getting rejected, and she was depressed and all of that. And then she said something. She said, I know you don't believe in this because I know you're a Christian and you're a child of God. Funny enough, she's a Christian too. And she said, I know you don't believe in this, but I'm, one of the zodiac sign, maybe Libra or Aries or whatever. She said that, and then she said that, I know you don't believe it, but that's who I am. And I've tried to even apply, and so I don't know what that is. I didn't even take time to look at it, and I don't want to do that. But apparently, she said a sign, and that there is a time that she can, there is a season of good luck to them. I don't know, if you apply or you try to do things or in certain timeline or certain time of the month because of their sign, it will work in their favor. But it turns out that she did it at that time and then still didn't work for her. And I'm Are you a Christian? And she said, yes, I know. And so that tells you that there are lots of Christians who do not even know who they are, who do not understand the calling of being a Christian, who has already accepted the definition of the word. I'm going to quickly jump now. Go to the next slide, please. Now, many years, thousands of years ago, this happened in the book of Esther, chapter 7, Esther chapter 3, verse 7. And I'm sure you know the story. There was this guy who wants to kill all of the Jews, and funny enough, they still don't, there are still people who hate, God's chosen people up till now. But there is this guy called Aman, I'm sure you all know him, who wants to kill all of them. Now this guy was very intelligent, and he decided to engage in demonic intelligence. And what he did was to go cast lot or cast die. And I'm not going to go through all of this, but it says that during the 12th year of King Ahasuerus' reign, during the first month, the month of Nisan, a pall, which means a lot, was cast before Aman for every day and every month of the year until Hadar, the 12th month, was chosen. So they actually cast lots for every day to know the ill-fated time, ill-fated season when that they can establish their evil doing on the Jews. So that means they must have done that 365 times. Come on, look at the dedication. I bet you haven't prayed a single prayer point 365 times. But Haman was okay, thank you. Haman was, he wanted to make sure that he wiped out all of these people. And he knew that he needed some intelligence from some higher beings, from demons, from devils, from the devil himself. And then he called all of these people to come and do all of that. And the funny thing, now when you hear this, we go meet people and then they say, oh, I'm liberal, and we have to tell them the truth. I'm not trying to be insensitive, but you cannot be that, because that is not the divine order of God for you. Anyone who is living in that, they are living below what they're supposed to live above. Because if you are God's, you can command the sun, you can command the moon, and they will obey you. Why? Because they are the works of your father's hands. I tell you that my dad had his house, and my mom, she had many stores. She had about 3 stores, back in Lagos, where I came from. And there was one time I was in college, and she already hired someone to manage one of those places. And then I left. I came home and I went straight to one of those stores, and there was this person. But because I'm the son, I walked right in, and then I went into the refrigerator. I picked a drink and I was drinking, and then the lady was looking at me like, "What? Like, who are you?" And I asked her, "Who are you?" Because I know who I am. I am the son of the owner of this place. So who are you? And she had to explain herself to me. And so, if my dad is the creator of the universe, I have the ability. I'm just going to talk about one, and then I will wrap up. And because this was one of the things that we saw when we went out. I mean, we asked probably about, if I check the videos, maybe over 25 people, different people, that we asked, who they had, all of that. And one of the common thing from some of them is that they said that they're from Houston, and that is good. And that's lovely. I'm from Houston. So if I go outside of Houston, I tell everyone I'm from Houston, and that's good. But it tells you how your environment can define who you are. But if there is a limitation on your environment, if there is a limiting factor, if there are territorial forces that are working in that environment, then they eventually affect that person and give that person the identification. But God already gave us an identification. God is our home. He It says, Lord, you've been an habitation from generation to generation. You know, we met someone yesterday who was talking about how she used to be in witchcraft and how she assesses her ancestors' power and all of that. Thank God that God delivered her already. But we have who we have from generation to generation.